I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting for Monday, August 21st to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hunt?
Here.
Commissioner Mark? Commissioner Mitchell?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Howard?
Here.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Here.
Chairman Jones?
Okay, thank you. Everybody, if you would, stand with me as the county attorney reads and gives us the prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious and loving God, by your wisdom you have bound us together in a common life as one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. Indeed, the body does not consist of one member, but of many, and all parts must work together for the common good. As these your servants gather today, help them embrace both the gifts and disciplines of a shared common life. Guide them toward decisions that honor all members of our human family, especially the most vulnerable. Give them a reverence for the earth and all its inhabitants. Strengthen them to act with mercy and kindness in all that they do, and give all of us grace to walk with you and one another in the way of love. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, you have the agenda in front of you. Are there any additions, deletions, changes?
Recommend we approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call.
Sure. Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes. Our first item agenda would be to welcome Colonel James Bardo. He is the Marine Aircraft Group MAG 14 Commanding Officer. Colonel Bardo, please come to the podium.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me. Quick introduction. As you said, Sir, Colonel Bardo, I'm the group commander down at Cherry Point. We'll talk a little bit about the aircraft group and how that fits into the ecosystem in Cherry Point. Personally, I am an F-35 pilot. I have just over 2,000 hours in the AVAP, the F-35B, and the KC-130J. Done deployments in the Middle East a few times. Been to Japan and been stationed generally all around the country. And it's a privilege to be back here in Eastern North Carolina, where I started my operational career with VMAT 203. Okay, if we go to the next slide, and I'm not sure if these are broadcasted out, but I will try to talk as best to what's on the slide. And then if there's any questions, please, ladies and gentlemen, stop me if you have. If not, we'll take questions at the end. Quickly, command relationships, because I think this is important. Here at Cherry Point, really, you have the base as it stands, and they're kind of the supporting establishment, and it's run by a Colonel Burks, and I believe that you may hear from him later on in the coming weeks. On the left side of the screen, you see the Fleet Marine Force, and really that's the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing with a 2-star general at the helm. We are a tenant organization, the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing, a tenant organization on board Cherry Point, but a separate and distinct chain of command from the base itself. And underneath that wing, there are several aircraft groups that you can see. Marine Aircraft Group 14, which I'm the commander, Marine Air Control Group 28, which there is another 06 commander, and there are several other 06 level groups that are not on Cherry Point, but they're underneath the wing, so you can see them listed there. And then as well, you have the FRC East, which, as you all know, is a Navy command, sometimes currently run by a Navy captain, but also sometimes commanded by a Marine colonel. Separate and distinct chains of command, and that just gets a little bit important as we talk that discussion today. I'm more the operational side, the combat deployability, or deployed forces that are resident on Cherry Point. So I can answer questions really about that, but if there's any sort of questions about the base infrastructure, I can do my best, but I'm not the expert, and I'll answer what I can and defer to Colonel Burks. Okay, next slide. Okay, the MAG 14 composition, as you can see, myself, I'm the commander. I have several squadrons that are underneath the actual, that are in the MAG. I'll start and I'll go on the far left, the F-35 squadron that we'll talk about today, the MFA 542. They have airplanes currently now, they're established, and we'll continue to take deliveries of airplanes. And we'll talk through that. That's the focus of our discussion today. Underneath that, you have the MQ-9 Reaper, which will be standing up a squadron. The squadron is stood up. We don't have the aircraft just yet. And we'll talk through that just in a few slides. We still have the last two AV-8B Harrier squadrons, VMA 223 and VMA 231, that are currently operationally employed throughout the world. We'll have those squadrons for the next few years. They'll have continued operational deployments. And then we have the KC-130J squadron that provides various levels of support to the entire Joint Force and to the Marine Expeditionary Force, and the training squadron that actually trains the pilots and the air crew. They're aboard Cherry Point as well, all inside of our air group. And lastly, up on the top, you have our logistics squadron that does the intermediate level logistics, or the intermediate level maintenance for all of our aircraft across our fleet. And that kind of bridges the gap between the Marines that are on the flight line in the squadron and the Marines or the civilians at the FRC that do the heavy depot level work. It's kind of that intermediate maintenance activity. Next slide, please. Okay, and the focus really today, I'll talk about F-35 integration. We have our first unit. We took our first delivery on the 31st of May. Some of you are at that event. The first airplane was delivered from Lockheed Martin. We currently have 4 airplanes from Lockheed Martin on the flight line now, and we'll continue to take deliveries for that squadron for the rest of the year and a little bit into the spring. That squadron, while not technically operational just yet, they are operating independently as a unit and flying local sorties here around the area. Next slide. Talk about a little bit about the future of what the aircraft group holds. Eventually we'll have 6 F-35B and C squadrons throughout MAG 14. You can see the list there. They're slid along to the right based on time. That's how they'll stand up as we go. So you can see all the way out to 2030, we'll be transitioning units. And some of those units are in fact here, 231 and 223, some of the other squadrons were on another base or installation, and they will now stand up as an F-35 squadron here at Cherry Point. So where we were at one point, 8 squadrons with 4 EA-6B Prowler squadrons and 4 Harrier squadrons, now will be 6 F-35B squadrons. So the group is a little bit at a low point, and now we're starting to get back up. And really what that means for the local community here is that you'll have 6 squadrons with about 250 Marines and sailors in that unit, with family, with children going to schools, involved in the local infrastructure here. So a pretty big buildup from a point where we're kind of at we were at a low in the last few years. So next slide. Okay, really in future outlook here, again, the MAG will grow to over about 3,000 Marines and sailors. The number's kind of in flux right now, but at the end of the day, it'll be over 3,000 with those 6 fighter squadrons. Again, we talk about what that brings to the local area. Aircraft will continue to deliver till 2030, and that as we do, we'll also increase the number of contractors and the support personnel that are on the base, people that run the simulator facility, and people that the actual Lockheed and vendor contractors that are on station here that'll help us with maintaining the airplane, with getting parts for the airplane, and just interaction with the major contractors. So that will continue to grow. We'll start our MQ-9 squadron. It's going to actually be a training unit here. So we'll have all the initial students that will learn how to either fly that airplane or be an operator, as well as the maintainers of that airplane. They will all be here in Cherry Point as we start to build that unit. The first system has not been delivered yet. When I say system, I mean both the aircraft and the ground controlling system that it takes. Think of it like the cockpit is not necessarily on board the airplane. The cockpit is separate from the airplane. So you have to bring the airplane and then bring the cockpit and all of the other supporting infrastructure. So that's imminent, that we'll get all of the people and the planes and the parts that'll stand up that unit. And again, contractor support personnel from the vendor to help us fly and maintain those airplanes. And then we'll still have our KC-130 squadron. Again, workhorse of the fleet. They're flying everywhere all the time. I'm sure you see them flying locally here quite a bit. They are certainly one of the it's almost the MVP of the aircraft group because they have so many different missions, and so they are we're lucky to have them. And then our logistics squadron, as we continue to build a number of airplanes, and that will have to grow just a little bit as well, just to accommodate the amount of maintenance activity that we're going to have to do with those airplanes. So, okay, and that really wraps it up for me in terms of a presentation. I'm open for questions if what I can answer. Sure.
You're saying 250 families just with the squadrons. When you look at the contract, support, logistics, all that, just thinking of the impact on the local school system, what do you think that's going to look like in the bigger picture?
Sure. So that's a great question. So I would say when I say 250, that's the overall strength of the squadron, and not all of those folks will have families. 250 personnel. So I would say I'm going to give you a kind of a rough math. I would say probably maybe a third of those would have families. So that's probably the impact to the school system of a third of all of those people that you'll have there. As far as contractor support, same. Kind of run. I couldn't even give you a statistic of how many people are young and single or versus married with children. But generally, what we see for a squadron, it's about a third. Most of the Marines are younger, and so they live in the barracks. Some are younger families that live out in town as well. Once they reach a certain rank, we generally give them that privilege. Certainly, if they're married, they have the choice of base housing, or they can live out in town. Once they reach a certain rank level, that they can move out in town as well. And then as you get older, you tend to naturally you see a lot of more families. So I don't know if that's a perfect answer to your question, but I can go back and get you a little bit maybe finer statistics if you will.
So 6 squadrons, you're looking at 1,250 people, roughly, then plus support personnel.
I
And
may have to grab my iPhone calculator, but it's about sounds about right.
okay.
So
The contractors, Lockheed Martin, all those people, are those TDY, or do they actually move here, buy homes, live in the area? I guess I'm asking the question, how many live here or will be living here in Eastern North Carolina as residents versus how many will be TDY and in and out?
I would say the vast majority would be here local residents because they have a daily job on the flight line. So I'll take our simulator facility for an example. Our simulator facility that we use for F-35 currently. We have several actual devices that the pilots sit in with a cockpit to train and fly those missions. There's a huge computer backbone, as you can imagine, that goes with that. So with that simulator facility, you have all of the folks who are running those computers, running the instructors that are running the simulators, the kind of support staff that keep that simulator building up and running. So all those people are local that will stay here, that will move here and stay here. Same thing with the actual contractors on the flight line. We usually have several industry representatives that are embedded in the squadron that help us troubleshoot issues with the airplane, help us negotiate any issues that we have with the contractors. Those people all usually live here. There are some that come in and out, but the lion's share are the ones that actually live here and are embedded with the unit.
Here.
Yes, ma'am.
So the additional 3,000 people over the next 7 years, that is just from the air group. That's not talking about the rest of the base.
That's correct.
Or fleet readiness. So.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly correct. That 3,000 is just the Marines and sailors, the uniformed Marines and sailors that are going to be part of the aircraft group as it stands. All the additional human capital that's in contractors and things like that. Those are all external that come in to support us, and then that is over and above, separate and distinct from the base infrastructure itself and the FRC infrastructure.
So bottom line is there are going to be many thousands of people coming in here in the next decade.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's a fair assessment. Is that there will be as we continue to progress and build the group and the capabilities we have. I think you'll continue to build the aircraft group as if similar to what it was previously when we had EA-6Bs and all 4 Harrier squadrons here, and then and then the support you get with that. So.
one question. What you describe is us, but I understand this aircraft will also be provided to allies. And we will be here, one of the main maintenance facilities, so planes will be coming in from other areas, even other countries to have maintenance. Is that accurate?
Sir, so I'll give you maybe just a little bit of a perspective. Again, that's more of the FRC East question
that
for
would
FRC
be the
East,
case.
but I can kind of give you a little bit on that. As we build the number of airplanes, this is one of the main depot facilities that we use for F-35Bs. I'd have to get back to you if we take the F-35B to the other depot facilities, but I know that FRC East is generally the main place we want to focus for F-35Bs. The level of experience is there. There's certainly the customer support and the relationship that we've had over the years is such that that's generally where we. I think you see a lot of F-35Bs there. In terms of the international partners, I believe that some of the international partners that fly the F-35B will also bring that airplane here for depot level facility. I don't know if there are any specifically right now from the UK or from the Italians that are also flying the airplane. But I think it's safe to say as the FRC East builds and continues their capability, there'll be a draw for the partners that fly at least this variant of the F-35 to bring their airplane here for work.
And that's good news, too, for our economy. So any other questions, comments? Thank you very much for coming. You're welcome back anytime that you have anything to share with us.
All right, sir. Thank you for the time, and to the board, thank you, everybody, and happy to be here. And if there's any other further questions, you know where to find me. So
Have a great day.
Thank you,
Great
thank
day.
you.
Okay, item number 2 on the agenda is the consent agenda. Minutes from August 7th, 23, regular session, tax refunds and releases, carts, request to set public hearing, economic development, request to set public hearing, NC Department of Commerce grant, economic development, request to set public hearing for Project Phantom, garage, county vehicle AIM system, budget amendment, human resources, Craven County 24 holiday schedule, and last, finance reimbursement resolution, Sudan Temple property. Are there any additions, deletions to the consent agenda? Could I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher.
Yes. Okay. Item number 3, facilities. Zach Chenoweth, Assistant Facilities Director.
Morning.
Good morning, Zach.
How are you?
Good, welcome.
The fiscal year 2022-2023 budget included the purchase order of a Ford Transit 250 for facilities. The purchase order was issued on August 22nd, 2022. The vehicle was not received before the end of the fiscal year. The vendor contacted us in early August and stated that the vehicle is complete and they expect it to be delivered soon. The board is being requested to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $51,614 in order to rebudget the expenditure from fiscal year 2022-2023 into the current fiscal year to complete this transaction. That vehicle is on the lot, currently at the dealership, and should be arriving, I'd say this week, potentially next.
Great,
Yeah.
great, good news. Have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions for Zach on this one? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher.
Yes. Item B.
A purchase order for new windows in the commissioner room and conference room on the second floor of the administration building was issued in December 2022. Due to a lengthy review with the City of New Bern Historical Preservation Committee, NBHPC, the windows were not installed in fiscal year 2022-2023. We received the approval from NBHPC for the window replacement in May 2023. At that time, Coastal Craftsman, the general contractor, began fabricating the new windows with the anticipation of completing fabrication during the month of August. We are requesting approval of a budget amendment to rebudget this expenditure in fiscal year 2023-2024. At this time, fabrication is almost complete, and we are scheduling the work to begin later this year in order to have minimal disruption to daily operations and scheduled commissioner meetings. The board is being requested to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $47,000 in order to carry over the unspent funds from fiscal year 2022-2023 into the current fiscal year and to complete this project.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions?
We're going to do some of the work over the weekend, and some of it will be during the week. I'll be working with the management team on scheduling and everything
In case anybody doesn't know, we're talking about the windows immediately behind us
in that room. Yep,
and around the corner. So
this section of the building.
I guess they're original, Jack, probably?
They are original. And one of the things we see particularly behind Commissioner Howard is because of their age, there's some water intrusion. And once that happens, we're constantly kind of repairing the sheetrock and various things back there. So it's an end of life type situation with these.
And it's an upgrade. We're going to a storefront material versus an original wood. That's why the review took so long. So we're going to a storefront material, which is going to be really nice, and it'll be tinted as well. So that'll help open it up.
Okay. If there are no other questions, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher.
Yes. Thank you, Zach.
Take care.
Item number 4, Health. Scott Harrelson, the Health Director. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Have 2 items to bring forward this morning. The first was put together by Mr. John Stuckey and Mr. Hodges with our Environmental Health Division. There was some session law this past year, which the impact that it had on us is that around improvement permits and construction authorizations, we had to discontinue 4 of our current fees and put forth 5 new fees for consideration. This was all based on guidance that was given to us by the Department of Health and Human Services, Environmental Health, and I would like to bring those forward this morning for approval.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on those? No questions? May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll on that for me, please?
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher.
Yes. Okay, item B.
Thank you. Item B is funding, regional funding. It says in the information packet through Pitt County, it actually is money that was meant for Craven County, but it was a regional effort, and Pitt County was kind enough to facilitate gaining the funds from the state and then parceling it out to what we call Region 10, which is our local or regional public health region with consisting of several counties. And the I2I pilot is basically a tool that we used to mine data from our electronic health record to generate reports for the federally qualified health center, which encompasses child health and adult primary care and behavioral health and the pharmacy. So it's a very neat tool that can go in and basically extract data from a number of electronic health records, which is the situation that North Carolina Public Health is in. We don't all use the same electronic health record. Ours is CureMD, some use Patagonia, some use others. So it's a cross-section of different electronic health records. And with this tool, they work with over 250 EMRs nationwide. And what we would like to do, because currently the situation we're in for the non-FQHC programs, maternal health, family planning, communicable disease, immunizations, all of these, we're basically doing double data entry with our staff. They complete Excel spreadsheets, send them into the state, and then if you ever look on the State Health Center for Health Statistics, ours get lumped in with the rest of the state, and usually data on that site's 2 to 3 years old. What we're trying to get at is no more double data entry, where it just extracts it from the EMR, sends it to the state, takes a little of that paperwork off of our staff, and also more timely. We're hoping on some of these measurements that we've submitted to them in their performance indicators to get them monthly or some others quarterly, so we'll have the data and it will be more useful and helpful to us. And also it will just be for public health. It won't be in with the rest of providers, private sector, and everybody for the state. So it's a novel concept because we have tried to look not to recreate the wheel. But we can't find another public health system in the nation who is already doing this, so I think it will be the first of its kind, and it would be very helpful to us locally. And that amount is $23,280. We actually have over $170,000 for Craven County through this fund. That will come once we get some more of these agreements processed from Pitt County. They're working on those as we speak. We've already submitted them, so they're working those through on our behalf.
And these funds are coming from, initially or ultimately from?
ARPA funds. Okay. So these are regional, and federal funds flow through Department of Public Health and then out to the health departments.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes. So if we approve this, how long will it take before you get this pilot system here?
Well, we're actually having we can have a kickoff call here within the next 2 weeks. Oh. Yes, and it's that I think the first two. There are several health departments across the state that are. I think there are 9 or 10 of us, and the health departments. And the first two that they wanted to talk with was Martin Terrell, Washington, north of us, and Craven.
Great. Sure.
So, an additional $170,000. What will that be utilized for?
Well, there's a little bit more on this project because of things that changed. So a few thousand more towards this one. I think the total cost will be about $31,500. The other can be used for what we hope is an expansion project in Havelock for some staff computers and staff furniture. It has to be for staff, and then we can also use it for retention efforts, which they said our cost of living assessments. So some of this funds can go towards paying those for the health department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Chairman, move to approve.
Motion?
Move to approve the budget amendment.
I'm sorry.
Move to approve the budget amendment for $23,280.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
yes,
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher.
Yes.
As always, thank you for your support. It is
Mr.
much
Vice Chairman, real
appreciated.
quick, before Scott goes, Scott, we sat down last week and had a conversation. I just thought because you heard from Jeff Merritt at your last meeting that maybe Mr. Harrelson could give a little impact on what we talked about, Scott, about some of your projections for what you're seeing if Medicaid expansion happens and some of the things we're talking about, looking at clinic-wise, just while you're here.
Yes, sir.
Because you had a really great year last year, too, finished up in the fiscal year, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Vite. As far as Medicaid expansion, what we are trying to do is position ourselves for more patients. We feel that roughly 85% of our patient pay or uninsured patients that we're serving now should roll over to Medicaid. And but we don't, the expansion numbers that we're hearing is somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,900 just for Craven. But as we also serve folks from Pamlico and so folks from Jones as well. Right now, we're at a situation where with the number of providers we have on staff for primary care, they are maxed out. They're carrying a patient load of about 5,000, and at $1,500 per full-time provider, there are basically maxed out. So in order to create additional bandwidth, we're trying to recruit new nurse practitioners. As you all know, we've talked about the Atlas program and also trying to become a VA provider. Our facility has been approved. Now we just need to get our individual providers approved. It's a process through the VA. And I think that there are some 16,000 veterans, I believe, that reside here in Craven County. So a good number of people out there, and I know that even if we were to hire a couple of more providers, that it would not be enough to offset that, but it would definitely help us have a little extra bandwidth for, being able to see some more patients and get them involved in care. And with the 340B pharmacy, our licensed clinical social worker for behavioral health, and also working with our partners from Carolina East, trying to get the diagnostics and the specialty care that's needed, and also the folks in Greenville. I think we have a lot to offer, and apparently the community is supporting it because of our numbers right now.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Scott? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your information. Item number 5, Water Department, Dale Booth, Water Superintendent.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you guys doing?
We're good.
So in fiscal year 22-23, the board approved funds to begin changing out approximately 15,000 water meters throughout the county. The first phase was going to focus primarily on the I-42 corridor, where the construction is being done right now, specifically for the safety of the meter readers, to being out there with all the backhoes and excavators and all the dirt and everything that occurs with construction. The issue with getting transmitters slowed the project down. So we weren't able to get the transmitters until mid-June. So that work has not been completed in last fiscal year. So I'm asking that, or the Water Department is asking that the board approve a budget amendment for $394,307 remaining from last year's budget in order to finish out the work in this fiscal year. Where we stand right now, we've got 2 data collectors, 2 antennas installed at our Wood Energy tank site and the Audrey Lane tank site, which that's going to bookend that area where those meters are going to be installed. We have all the meters in a Connex. We now have all the transmitters in a Connex. We're waiting for fiber connectivity to those 2 base stations. Once that's up and going, we should be able to test pilot, 50 meters or so, just to make sure that we collect the data. We can take the data, process it, and then bill it before we do a full-scale installation. But all in all, in the next 60 days, this project should be wrapped up.
For the benefit of the public, this will allow you to read meters without driving from house to house, business to business.
Yes, sir. Right now, our meter readers physically go into the yard, pick the meter lid up, read the meter lid. They deal with spiders and snakes and dogs and all that stuff. This will allow us to instantaneously read any meter that has this transmitter. So basically what those antennas do is you set up a routine schedule. It does what's called a wake-up call. It wakes those meters up. It uploads that data, and then it downloads it to us so we can take it with reports. So what that's going to do is it helps with leak detection. So if you have, say, you have a water main break or water line break in your yard that's beyond our meter, that's considered to be the customer's concern. We can pick up on that a lot faster. Rather than every 30 days when we go and read the meter, now, we can run a weekly report and be able to figure out if somebody's got higher consumption and alert that person so they can get it fixed in a more timely manner, which, saves the customer money on their side.
Okay.
And also on our side, too, it kind of prevents water loss. We can identify areas where we might have leaks that the customer may not know about, so it benefits us as well.
Okay, very good. Sure. Any questions? Yes.
This is a resiliency question, since we're getting more electronics.
Yes, ma'am.
If there is another environmental disaster, a Florence that at least temporarily takes some of our monitoring systems
Yes, ma'am.
offline, with it, how are you going, if something like that happens again, how would you track water usage when all these?
So what would happen in that event, say if something were to happen and knocks out one of our towers or knocks out power to the county for a significant amount of time. One, we have generator backup at these facilities, But if, say, the antenna was damaged by wind, we have a backup drive-by system. So rather than the individuals having to go back to reading by hand, we have a unit that fits inside of the truck and a laptop. And when you pull up into a vicinity, I'm not quite sure exactly what that radius is, but it'll wake up those meters in that radius and you'll be able to call in. So it's a little bit more labor intensive, but it's still better than the direct read we have now. So that's our backup, is the drive-by meter reading system.
Okay, so if the antenna gets damaged because of something,
Yes, those meters they're able to be read. You can read them either by drive-by or the handhelds that the meter readers carry now actually carry the capability, once the transmitters are installed, they can basically walk, and without going in a yard, as you get within proximity, I think it's 50 feet, or it'll read that meter. So you can just you could walk a route and read the meters without having to get out of the truck and get in the yard and deal with all that kind of stuff.
so this will enable accuracy no matter what happens.
Yes, ma'am. That's the plan. You know how electronics are, but that's the plan. Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Any other questions for him on this? Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
yes,
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher.
Yes. And item B,
Rolls right along with item A. So as programmed in the county's 5-year capital improvement plan, we'll continue the meter change-out project with phase 2. This phase will remain focused on additional routes in the same high-traffic areas in the James City, focusing mainly on Mattermore's Lane, Old Cherry Point Road, Old Airport Road, in that area. The replacement of these current water meters will provide multiple benefits to the citizens, as I talked about. The accuracy of meter readings will be increased, less delays in billing as we're able to get that information quicker, and then reduced water loss by providing that leak detection. So I'm asking, or the Water Department's asking the board to approve a water amendment budget for this work for $1,193,500 to install approximately 2,400 additional meters.
okay, any questions on that?
No, move to approve.
Second? Motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
yes,
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher.
Yes. Very good. Anything else for us?
Any other questions for me?
No? Anybody else have any questions? Well, sounds like we're good.
Thank you very much.
Bring in the water. Yes, sir. Okay, item number 6, appointments. Make note of, under item A, pending Craven County Planning Board, Havelock Board of Adjustment, Highway 70 Corridor Committee, and the Volunteer Agricultural District. Those will be coming up soon. Under current, Nursing Home Advisory, Linda Lely seeks reappointment. Anybody have any additional candidates?
No, I recommend that we reappoint her.
Okay. With no other candidates, she will be appointed by acclamation. And secondly, Tom Glasgow seeks reappointment for the Craven County Clean Sweep.
Recommend reappointment.
Okay, any additional recommendations there? Okay, Mr. Glasgow will be reappointed by acclamation. We have coming up in September, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council term for Tracy Monk, and we'll deal with that next month. Okay. Next item, we always look forward to our county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good morning. I have 2 items for your consideration this morning, both of which involve surplus real property owned by the county and acquired through the tax foreclosure process. The first parcel is located at 5491 Adams Creek Road with the parcel ID number of 5-020-1001. This is an initial offer. Should the board accept it this morning, we'll put it out for upset bids and it'll be back before the board at some point for final approval. The offer amount is $3,000. The past due taxes and the original cost of foreclosure together were $2,612.42, and the tax value of the property is $16,000. It's my recommendation that the board consider approving this initial offer.
I I move that we authorize that bid process.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
yes,
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes. Okay,
Thank you. The second item is final approval after the expiration of the upset bid process. The property is located at 5200 Adams Creek Road with a parcel ID number of 5-021-036. The final bid amount was $3,500, which was also the original bid amount. There were no upset bids. The original past due taxes and the cost of foreclosure were $2,612.41. The property's tax value is $16,000. As with the other parcel, I recommend that the board consider giving final approval to this.
okay. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
yes,
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. County Manager, Mr. Veit.
Didn't quite get it fast enough, but we'll send Steve some pictures. I got some great news for you this morning. Mr. Gene, I don't know if you can send them to Steve as I'm talking, but on Saturday morning, we opened our new pickleball courts at Creekside, 10 a.m., and Gene sent me a picture, and there were about 55 people there when they opened, ready to play. And we had a big time, lots of use. They look great. Gene, I got some other stuff, so I'll let you continue to work, but we're really excited to have that. Over the last month or so, we've been riding around with commissioners throughout the various districts. It's been a great opportunity to see our county with you, and one of the things that I've noted and certainly heard from you is the amount of growth in our county. And a lot of times I hear, and it's one of sort of my pressure points at the moment, is you lost population in the last census. And I challenge anybody to ride around Craven County and find where we lost, right?
Yes.
I cannot find it myself. Matter of fact, all I see is growth and change and a lot of redevelopment, which makes me happy. So with that, I got one more coming up with Commissioner Mitchell. We'll be going through her district, and then hopefully we'll do it all over again and see what's changed. So thank you for the time on that. Last week, I also attended a Highway 70 meeting in Morehead City on Thursday. And I wanted just for your calendars, and I know you've received an invitation for this, but October the 19th, we'll be hosting a transportation summit at the Convention Center for Eastern North Carolina. And this is a big deal. Puts us kind of in the centerpiece for all the transportation issues across Eastern North Carolina. We did this about 10 years ago. It was highly successful. And today I'm pleased to say that the keynote speaker will be the Secretary of Transportation, Eric Boyette. We're really excited to hear what he has going on, particularly talking about transportation funding. As we know, there's been significant challenges with the amount of funding going into DOT and how now that's being allocated. So, again, updates on projects. Havelock Bypass, 68% done. So they worked a whole lot initially in the middle where you couldn't see it. Now they're working on the ends, tying it all together. Still on schedule. James City, still getting started. A little bit behind schedule, but of course it's a challenging work environment there. Still working on right-of-way, utilities, service roads. They do suspect in the next 2 to 3 months you will see more of what we've expected from construction, delays and things. Obviously, they don't want to do that over the summer. But those updates are there, and you'll learn a whole lot more on October 19th at the Convention Center. So, Mr. Chairman, unless you got...
October 19.
October 19, and I believe it is from 9 to 3 that day.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir. Anything I can help you with this morning?
Anything for the manager?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, last item on the agenda are commissioner reports. Commissioner Hunt, we will start with you.
Thank you. I would like to thank all the Craven County departments that attended the Harlow Volunteer Fire Department open house this past weekend. Despite the warm temperatures, we had around 175 to 200 people come and get engaged with not only Craven County departments, which included the Sheriff's Office, Craven County Carts, Craven County Community College, Craven Pamlico Animal Services was there. They were on deck. A lot of good things happened. A lot of questions were answered. Everyone had a good time, despite the heat. One of the things that I took away is kind of a, I don't know, feel-good story. I walked up to a young family with 3 kids, and I said, "Oh, everybody getting ready to go back to school? What school are we going to?" The tallest girl is going to be a freshman in high school. The second girl is going to be a 6th grader at Havelock Middle School. And the boy, he said, the young man said, he's a middle school student too, but he is choosing to be homeschooled. So the girl said, "Yeah, I'm going to go to school, but I'm really, really scared about going to school because I've heard a lot of bad things." So I was able to introduce that young lady and her family to Sheriff Derrick, who is going to be the new SRO at Havelock Middle School. Now, Sheriff Derrick has attended Havelock High School, and he's a graduate of Havelock High School. So he attended Havelock Middle and graduated from Havelock High. So Deputy Derrick was able to talk to this family and many other families and make a connection. So this young girl is no longer afraid to go to school. She's actually excited about going back to school. And the young man is now perhaps reconsidering going back to the middle school. They asked him a very good question. The freshman going into high school asked him, "Well, how are you going to be able to change things around and make it better, make it a safer feeling school?" And he was able to answer that question. And now that whole family walked away, and other families as well, looking forward to the school season.
Right.
And the open house was a fantastic event. If we have another one, I hope everyone will consider coming out.
Good.
Thank you.
That's good news. Anything
Yeah.
else?
That's it.
Okay.
looking
Commissioner
at me?
Mitchell, you are next.
Am I next? Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I will be sworn in to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Board on Wednesday. So start working more proactively with that now that I will be official. Thank you for your confidence in me. And also just to make the community aware that the North Carolina Defense Summit, which is an annual event in Raleigh, is coming up the 26th and the 27th of September. So from the county perspective and the commissioners, it's time to think about who will be attending. We will be a 2-day event this time.
Okay. That's it.
That's it.
Commissioner Smith, would you like to say anything?
No, thank you.
Okay.
No report, just congratulations, Commissioner Mitchell, your appointment to this state board. Well deserved, well earned.
Okay. I have nothing to report. So with that, if there is a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
motion and a second, meeting adjourned.